Hello, my name is Joe Greet, and together with my work colleagues, Melissa Fredrigo and Amy Bennett, as well as stakeholders from Melbourne Water, DELP and Parks Victoria, we're working on a project to inform the way we manage deer impacts in riparian zones. Deer populations are increasing in their density and distribution across the state of Victoria. And with that, so are their impacts on our native vegetation, our efforts to revegetate, and the risk they pose to our drinking water supply via fecal contamination. A recent draft deer management strategy released by DELP highlighted some important knowledge gaps in relation to deer management. In particular, our knowledge on impacts of deer on priority assets and means to monitor those impacts, as well as our understanding of deer density, deer damage relationships are lacking. And it is through the work on this project that we're hoping to address those knowledge gaps. To do so, we have developed an innovative method to concurrently survey deer density and deer impact. We're surveying deer density via fecal pallet counts, a common method used across Victoria and many other countries, and measuring deer browsing impacts via rapid browsing assessments of native trees and shrubs. And we conduct these surveys in concentric 1 metre and 5 metre plots, and 30 of those along 150 metre transects, so that at each location we are surveying deer pallets within a 1 metre radius circle, and the impact on 4 native trees and shrubs within a 5 metre radius circle. We've now conducted such surveys at over 150 sites across the Melbourne Water estate. And combining, well, Amy Bennett has, along with others. I think I've been to a couple of sites. And then Melissa Fredrigo has used that data and combined that data with over 50 data sets of fecal pallet counts across the state of Victoria, as well as environmental predictors known to be important for deer density, such as foliage projective cover, elevation, slope, rainfall, temperature, and distance to water. We've also trialled a few ways of assessing foliage projective cover, considering the amount of tree cover within 500 metres, 1 kilometre, 1.5 kilometre, and 2 kilometres of a given location based on the home range size of the 2 deer species found within the Melbourne Water estate, the fallow deer and the sambar deer. Now, taking all that data, we've produced a model which predicts deer density and deer impacts across the Melbourne Water estate and potentially across the state of Victoria. And here's some of the initial outputs from that model showing deer density in terms of pallets per metre squared across the Melbourne Water region. And I hope you can see those, but so the darker green areas, which indicate areas of higher predicted deer density, we found that distance to water was a primary driver of this metric, such that deer densities are particularly high in the surrounds of our water supply catchments and other reservoirs within the Melbourne Water region, as well as landscape tree cover being important. With deer densities, I'm not sure if you can see that in the top right-hand corner, actually being highest at intermediate levels of tree cover, where deer have access to both pasture for grazing and also tree cover for hiding and sleeping at night. Other important predictors include elevation, with deer preferring lowland areas and areas with low slope. In the next steps of this project, we're hoping to take those outputs and overlay them with things that we care about. So key priority assets, including Melbourne Water priority waterways and their veg maintenance works layers, as well as strategic biodiversity values identified by DELP, so that we can identify areas of high predicted deer density and impact in areas where we also have important assets, to identify those assets at highest risk and efficiently target our deer mitigation and control efforts. Additionally, we're keen to collect data for areas where we have high predicted deer density but are currently lacking data, such as areas to the west of Melbourne, for which there's little to no quantitative data, and particularly in areas such as Lake Merrimu, where we have where we predict there are high deer densities. And a special thanks to our colleagues at Melbourne Water, DELP, and Parks Victoria. Thank you.